We are live. Let's see if I can do this. I can do it. I can do it. It says we're live. I did it. I did it without the extra noise. Happy Sunday, everybody. Dano, you're always here early. You're always early. Dano is in the UK. He should be sleeping. And I noticed that Derek was zapping trolls. We now call Derek the troll zapper. He was zapping trolls before, I think he started, like when the stream got built, he just started zapping. For those of you new here, Addie and Derek are the moderators. I will argue they are the best moderators for live chats on the internet. And we are going to test that theory because we're going to do a webinar about our research. I've never done a webinar before. I'm a little bit nervous. I mean, I've done webinars, but I've never produced them. And Addie is currently housed, formerly homeless, and Derek is currently homeless but running for mayor. And Derek, you know what, Derek? I meant to tell you this earlier. You should promote your YouTube channel. Feel free to put your YouTube channel in the chat room, please. Let's get you some love. Let's get you some love. And Dano, thanks for asking. I'm feeling a little better. I have made significant strides in getting this house ready. I have been, tell me how this happens, right? I'm eating healthy. I'm eating less. I'm moving more. And like, I lost 15 pounds. I was like really excited. And then since the hospital, I lost 15 pounds, which is good. And then like, you know, yesterday I worked out. I mean, like worked out, like not like, you know, Arnold, you know, working out, but, you know, did some exercising, trying to step into it a little bit. And I gained 3 pounds. How does that even happen? Okay. So that's another whole rant. How is everybody? Happy Sunday. Who do we have? Hey, Sharon, I am sorry you are homeless. Message me at Invisible People, info at invisiblepeople.tv. If you're not homeless, please leave my inbox nice, and I will connect you to our online support group. It just, you know what? I should figure out a way of making that a little more smoother for everybody. And Derek is always busy. But I have tomorrow morning, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, first off, especially with the pandemic, healthcare providers, especially frontline emergency room, have been amazing. They have stepped up. I can't imagine what they go through. Every time I do a hospital stay, I am just blown away, floored at that occupation. Very impressed and encouraged by the people that do that. And but what, like I have this lung test tomorrow. I can't even breathe now. And it's like so early in the morning. Like, how do they do that? How do they get up that early in the morning every day to go do hospital stuff? That is crazy to me, just crazy. Anyways, I'm just making conversation. Dano asked how I am. If you're new here, I had blood clots in my lungs. It could be 3 months, maybe more, before they totally dissolve. And then I hopefully will be better. I am much better than I was. Let me turn on the timestamp. Hey, Bliss. Well, I am going to get a haircut. This is like COVID hair because I haven't been. It's hard for me to keep hair this long, because when I get it this long, I is a challenge to keep it like this. So then it grows into COVID hair, which is now a new term. It is an official term. If it's not, we're going to make it an official term now. COVID hair. Yeah, Bliss. You should have my email. It's, at invisiblepeople.tv, mark at or info at. And James just made me laugh. I asked people, what should we talk about? And James mentioned something like I should run for governor, and no, I can't do politics. Although in 7th grade, there was a school counselor that did say I should go into politics. Well, Derek, that's because you're like, who's the guy that was, what's the thing? George Clooney. He uses the flow thing that you attach to a vacuumer. Because see, you're George Clooney, cool. But James kind of commented on something, and I figured, if I'm going to ask you guys questions, or what should we talk about, then I should answer your questions the best of my ability. So Claire asks, she says, I'm curious what your moving to Cali will look like and what are your plans and priorities will be when you get there. Thanks for asking. It's a good question. I'm going to go back a little bit. So, hey, Sunshine Girl, thank you. And thank you, Floby. That's it. Thank you, Michelle. A Floby. I've thought about the Flobies. I guess after George Clooney did the thing, they sold out. But yeah, Dano, swap me for Boris. No. That's a whole different kind of crazy. Hey, Charity, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Hello, Auntie D. Hello, everybody. So let me go back a little bit to answer LA because I got to give you a little history. I was born and raised here in Binghamton, and I played music. I did a lot of great, cool stuff. I was one of the first local musicians to really push original music. I wanted, like most kids, I wanted to be rich and famous. However, I was wasted, and it just wasn't in the stars, as they say. But that was my driving force was music. Music. I'm going to go one back a little bit more. Since we're doing this trip down memory lane, my parents were separated. My dad was a drummer, and my dad only had custody of me every other week, but my dad played in a band. It was a polka band, and it was booked 3 years in advance. So my dad would take me to go play at these weddings. So I was that little kid at the drum set at the weddings when the band would go take a break and eat some malupki. I was the kid just making noise. So I grew up wanting to play drums. Well, my dad wanted me to be a school teacher. So I remember coming home from school with my first my drumsticks, and my dad threw them away. He didn't want me to be a drummer. Well, what happened? Reverse psychology. I ended up playing drums. So music was my life. Music was my life. And I knew I had to either move to New York or I had to move to LA. And New York had snow. Ugh. I'm moving to LA soon. It's going to be really hard to leave this house because this is my mom's house. I grew up here, but I'm going to go walk out in the snow at night like I used to one last time. It's going to be scary. Anyways, music was my life. Music was, played in a lot of different styles and made money and did a lot of crazy things, and the sex and the drugs and the rock and roll. And I wanted to move to Los Angeles or New York, and there's snow and it's cold in New York. So I decided on LA. And I remember watching a movie, To Live and Die in LA. And I think about this a lot. And I'm getting to someplace. I'm getting to answer Claire's question, because it's really going to shape Invisible People once again, and it's important. So I watched this movie, To Live and Die in LA, and I used to joke with my girlfriend, we're going to live and die in LA. And, when I leave here, at some point, I'm going to die, and it's probably going to be in LA. Kind of crazy. Anyways, I moved to New York. Me and my girlfriend, we bought one-way tickets. We put all of our stuff in boxes and shipped them UPS. And we moved to Los Angeles. We bought one-way tickets from New York City. My parents drove us down to New York City. And we bought one-way tickets to Los Angeles. And I went to school. I went to the Musicians Institute of Technology, Percussion Institute of Technology. And it was quite a culture shock. I mean, here in Binghamton, I was a big fish, and the phone rang and I turned down drumming gigs. And then all of a sudden I'm in Los Angeles and there's a gazillion drummers and there's a gazillion players, and I'm all of a sudden a little fish. And there's a lot of competition. Los Angeles also had something that I wasn't ready for. I don't think I was mature enough ready for it. But Los Angeles had, probably still has, I mean, everybody is, they're trying to get a record contract. And it's more about, hey, how do you look? Can you fit in these pants? Do you have long hair? Do you have short hair? Do you have blue glasses? Do you have red glasses? What is it? They're trying to manufacture an image. And here in New York, I mean, music at its core was fun. It was fun. We got together and played. So long to short, I continued playing drums. I worked on some B movies. I played an undercover cop. And the Los Angeles was really something. Now, if you go into description, there is a documentary about me and my life. And as it relates to homeless and my homelessness. So I won't go into a lot of that because it's down below. And I didn't mean to be so long-winded on Claire's question, even though I had a feeling once I started, I would be a little bit long-winded. So, the brief synopsis, as they say, and it's really on my mind. So this week, a couple of friends, when I was 14, I have a photo of one of our first bands, and the singer, I haven't seen him in years, probably 40 years. And he stopped by this week. We social distance. I sat across, the living room here. And we're reminiscing. I mean, he did go to New York and I did go to LA. And we're talking about all these old times. So I ended up being house drummer at Jane's Alibis, which was a country bar. Believe it or not, in Los Angeles, country was huge and you made great money. I used to do that here in New York, right? I used to, I had 3-colored hair down to my, here, right? I had 3-colored hair and I used to go play country and I would put it in a ponytail and a bobby, pin it up, and then put a bandana over it. So when I went to the country bar, I wouldn't be killed. And we would go down to Manhattan or play around here in a heavy metal band. And I made my money playing country. And I kind of did that when I was in LA. My girlfriend was a paralegal. We had, so I was house drummer at this bar. So I worked Friday and Saturday night. And then I drank Budweiser by our pool. We had a 3-bedroom house up in Sun Valley. And I remember it like yesterday. I would drink beer sitting out in the sun, and then I would just roll over to where I would just splash in the pool when it got too hot, and I'd get out and drink beer. And that's what I did. I played country music and I drank beer. Kind of go together, right? So Lisa got pregnant and I felt the responsibility of being a father. And I went, and this is God's honest truth, I went and I lied on an application for the videotape company. And they hired me. And I was traffic manager for a large television syndicator, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, Married with Children. 2 weeks later, they fired my boss and gave me his job. So now I went from traffic supervisor to traffic manager. And that kept on happening till I ran 75% of the 10th largest broadcast network. So I ran the shipping, the vault. We had one of the largest vaults, a fleet of drivers, 3. We had a mass duplication, which is your, VHS that ran 3 shifts and fulfillment to put, labels on and boxes. And, it basically, if you watch TV or put there's a lot of syndicators, but we were one of there's a lot of mass dupe, but we were the major syndicator or one of them at the time. If you watch TV from 1990 to 1994, I was, and a bunch of others, but I was directly responsible for getting that television show to your TV set. And at the time I was wasted. Oh my gosh. One of these, maybe we'll do a little story about how my own drug addiction or whatever, but I'm going to try to get through this a little quicker than going that deep dive. Anyways, I was crashing and burning, and they had made a mistake. It's a true story. They had made a mistake, sales, and they asked me to fire a Mexican. God's honest truth. And I refused. Someday I'll tell you the story of when I was on an Indian reservation, and as a white person, they got me drunk, and I was entertainment, kicked the honky in the head. And as a white person, we don't feel racial violence. I mean, like up in Oakland right now where Derek is, there's Asians being stabbed and spit on and yelled at. And, there's racism just always is just, oh my gosh, it's bothered me. And I never ever had any hard feelings for our Native American brothers and sisters. I understand that they were doing it out of their pain. And, that I didn't mean, Claire, I did not mean to do this whole thing, but here we are. So anyways, I even have the memo I wrote. So they asked me to fire a Mexican, and I was like, well, you know what? Some of my employees are from Guatemala and El Salvador. And even back then, like I would hire, people nobody else would hire. And being honest, it was partly out of necessity because they would never give me the dollar amount or the budget to really hire skilled people. So I took risks often on troubled youth, and we became a family. And I wrote a memo to HR saying, this is like I said I would not do it. And then I said, you know what? Some of them, they're Hispanic, they're from Central America. And the vice president said, just put a name in the hat and pick a name. So I wrote a memo to the CEO and HR about what I called the Starcom lottery. And the HR executive, the HR vice president, he actually resigned because of it. Long to short, I was wasted on drugs. The vice president actually went into my QC lab, grabbed John Delgado, took him to HR and fired him without cause. California is an at-will state. And back then I tried to screen. I mean, there's no social media back then, right? There's no internet like we know it today. So I tried to find lawyers. I called all the media. I called the Hispanic media, and nobody would do anything. And so I wrote a 20-page resignation letter, and there's 7 buildings, and I put it underneath everybody's door. And I knew the next day they were going to fire me because I documented felonies that I had committed for this company. And all of a sudden, I am unemployed, addicted to drugs, and I went back to hanging out with bikers, hanging out with drug dealers, hanging out, doing really, really, funky stuff. And that crash, there's another story. You know what? I'm going to share this one. Because it's that important that you get it right. So this is a story. Still with me, Claire? Still with me, everybody? Hope you don't mind this story. And since I got it up here, I should probably tweet it. And this is a post I wrote about my first night story. I mean, my first night. This is a story I wrote about my first night homeless. So I'm not going to repeat that story because it's already there. So anyways, I ended up on the streets homeless. And my first shelter, I'm not going to, I've already done 20 minutes of this, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit. And if you guys want, we can go, if you like this story, we can talk about it more. I ended up on a homeless shelter at Hollywood and Vine, which is that's a 2-hour live stream story in itself. And then I ended up going into a faith-based shelter where I lived for 7 years. So just fast forward now, because Claire and everybody's probably falling asleep. And I rebuilt my life back to a 3-bedroom house. I mean, I did it all on my own. I mean, my dad would give me vitamins. I rebuilt my life back to a 3-bedroom house, new car in the garage. Now, this was in St. Louis. I had now relocated, making great money, and the economy tanked, and I lost my job. And right around night, and then it was a really dark time. And I applied for a job in Los Angeles as marketing manager for a Foursquare denomination, which is a church, a large church. and they hired me. And it was interesting because that job was $80,000 a year. Now, when I was working in St. Louis, I was making $120,000 a year. And I was like, how am I going to live in LA on $80,000? And, I had a mortgage to pay, and I had, rent and, cost of living. And I was stressing. So you fast forward, right? I ended up making $14,000 that year. And the year after, I think 16,000. And last year I only made 6,000 total. And because the speaking arrangements just tanked, right? Normally how I've paid myself is just through speaking arrangements. And I know I'm rambling. I am rambling. Right around 19 months of unemployment. And this is where I'm trying to get to, Claire. If Claire's with us, right around 19 months of unemployment, not consecutively. I took that job as marketing manager, and 3 months they laid me off. I'd get another job, they laid me off. I'd get another job. It was, it is like it is now with the pandemic, 2008. Everybody was losing their job, and, the economy was tanking, and it was a very, very scary time. So I grabbed the camera, and I remember I couldn't edit the video. And I'm a television producer by trade. And I almost didn't do it because I was looking at this little dinky laptop, and I was saying, gosh, I can't put B-roll on. I can't lay music. I can't do all this, stuff to make it a cool video. And then one day I went, you know what? Nobody's going to watch this stuff. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to interview a homeless man, and I'm going to upload it raw, unedited. And that first was John. And I remember it was Hollywood Boulevard because I knew John when I was homeless on Hollywood Boulevard. And John's missing a leg, and he crawls up and down the stairs, cleaning out the brass. It's the very first Invisible People. And so I'm interviewing John, and all of a sudden he starts crawling, and I'm like, what am I? First off, my heart's breaking for this guy. And then I'm like, well, I can't edit the video, so I don't know what to do. So I just crawled along with him. And that was the start of Invisible People. I remember when I first started, I thought I was crazy. I mean, now I know I'm crazy. But because I was crashing back into homelessness, and the economy was tanking, and it was just a really scary time. And, part of my strength and my weakness is I'm able to empathize with people. So I would go out and I would empathize with them. And when I left, I was like, oh my God, I don't know where my own food is coming from. I don't know where my own rent is coming from. And why am I continuing to do this? And let's fast forward a little bit. We're going to hit 1 million subscribers in a month or two. We had 130 million views last year. We have a bunch of writers. Check us out on Apple News and Google News. I mean, YouTube is not the only thing we do. You go to the website, invisiblepeople.tv. There's a learn more section for you to learn about homelessness. We're doing mini documentaries. We do daily journalism on news. We pay writers. Some of them are homeless. And it's having huge impact. We champion research to help stakeholders learn how to message better. I could go on and on and on. I mean, this year we're going to do more mini documentaries, and we're going to do some scripted films. No organization. So all the homeless services organizations, they have huge marketing budgets, right? None of them connects the public to homelessness as we do. And through the years, I knew right away I would have to travel because people in Kansas City aren't going to relate to Los Angeles homelessness or vice versa. So I stopped counting 300 cities a couple years ago. I mean, I was at 300 cities. I've been in 9 different countries. But it was Los Angeles. So I've worked with the city and I've worked with the county. I've worked with Mike Bonin in Venice. I have the most connections in Los Angeles. Bliss, who is in the room. Hopefully you're in housing, Bliss. But last I knew, Bliss was on the streets of Los Angeles. That's how I met her. Great example is, well, she, Bliss found our online support group. And I believe people in the group helped her get a tent and connect her to other people that maybe got her a tent. And I was walking through Echo Park, which you've seen. We did a mini documentary on it. And here's this woman that comes up and, says, I forget what you said, Bliss, but Lady Bliss said, you're Mark Horvath from Invisible People. And so those connections in LA is where, and that's why I went into the story of before. There's something about Los Angeles for me, right? Everybody says great weather. Yeah, it's great weather. Great food. Yeah, it's great food. But there's an energy there. And a lot of people say, California and especially Southern Cal people are very superficial. In fact, there's a saying in the movie business that if you can fake sincerity, you've got it made. And there's some truth to that in the entertainment industry. But I have found Los Angeles people to be more real. I just have. And there's an energy there. So I remember, I'll tell you a really quick story. One of the amazing things that happened, because the second part of Claire's question was, what are you going to do? What are your plans? So I was eating literally dollar pizzas from Ralph's. Ralph's is a grocery store. It's basically Kroger's, same store. It's just called Ralph's. Somewhere people in Kroger's marketing department went, well, we've got these California stores. We can't call them Kroger's. What should we call them? Ralph's. Anyways, they're called Ralph's. So I was eating dollar pizzas from Ralph's, right? I had no money. I did not know where rent was coming from. Rent eats first, right? You have money, you got to pay the landlord, and then you go hungry. So I'm eating these dollar pizzas. And social media just started. And so I'm following the social media club on Twitter. And they tweet they're having a free event. Well, the event has free food. The event is $10, but it has free food, and it's at the 21st floor of the Universal Sheraton, which I know is a nice room. So I'm figuring it's good food. And I was sick of eating dollar pizzas. So my thinking was, I'm going to go to the social media event because I didn't want to do a drive-through or a dollar menu or do another dollar pizza. I'm going to the social media event just because I wanted better food. Didn't think anything else. And it was just at the beginning of Invisible People. And sure enough, I go there and, people would ask, well, what do you do? And I tell them, and they're like, that's really cool. And I just like, whoa, huh? Using social media to educate people on homelessness. And it was, the panel was on branding. And there was a guy on a stage, and he said, if I was one of the Motrin moms, and you guys can Google Motrin mom, if I was a Motrin mom, or if I was Motrin, I wouldn't have listened to the Motrin moms. Just so you know, there was a bunch of moms. Motrin did a commercial. A bunch of moms, had huge influence, and Motrin had to take the video down. It was a horrible video. And Jessica Gottlieb, who is a powerhouse, right? She stands up and she says, I'm the Motrin mom, and she was. And if you Google Motrin mom, my name comes up before Motrin. Don't tell me I don't have power. And so I tweet, some of you might get this joke, some of you might. I tweet out, I said, I went to a social media club event and a hockey game broke out. That was my tweet. And, because the joke is you go to a fight and a hockey game broke out. So I said, I went to this, and it went like crazy. Everybody was retweeting it and sharing it. I ended up becoming friends with Jessica. Jessica has helped invisible people tremendously. And so going back, you got to understand that when Invisible People was in Los Angeles, our impact was probably 1,000 times more than our impact here. There's homeless people in Binghamton, New York, but there's only a few of them, and they're very hidden. It's not like Seattle or, New York or Tampa or Los Angeles. There's, I'm going to Ithaca next weekend if the lungs allow. But Los Angeles is where we have the most impact. It's also a media hub. So a lot of times I will get asked by, a media publishing company to talk about homelessness. And because I'm here, they won't do it, or they find somebody else. If I'm LA, because LA is an entertainment hub. The point is, everything I do is to have more impact in ending homelessness. I've been here about 5 years, 6 years taking care of Mom. She passed away a year ago. And I've done a miracle, thanks to you guys, growing Invisible People from this little tiny town. But the truth is, I gotta get to some place, and whether it's a Seattle, a Portland, Dallas, Texas, wherever, New Orleans, I could go any place, but Los Angeles is where my heart is. Los Angeles is where I have so many homeless friends. Los Angeles is where there's so much more impact for Invisible People. Now, hopefully, if everything goes right, and we planned this last year, I'll be driving around the country. So right now I'm shooting for leaving in July, driving around the country, July, August, September. That's what I'm looking at right now. I'm thinking, the vaccine rollout will pretty much be done by the end of May. I'll give a month. We'll start getting somewhat back together. So hopefully I'll be seeing many of you all. And in fact, hopefully soon I'll be able to cross the pond and go see Dano. But Los Angeles is my home. As I said in the beginning, I remember watching that movie To Live and Die in LA, and it's my destiny, I guess. It does come with a lot of fear. I mean, I could live in Mom's house here for the rest of my life. I know, because the house is paid for, so I don't have to pay for rent. By going to LA, I mean, I got to come up with money every month. That's scary. And So there's a huge risk. But here, personally, there's nothing for me. Professionally, there's nothing for invisible people. So that means I'm Los Angeles bound. Boy, that was a 44-minute story. I didn't mean, Claire, if you watched all of that or even part of that, I am sorry. I didn't mean to go. And there's so much more. Oh my gosh. Yes, Linda, risk equals opportunity. Let me put the Stuart M. I agree. We have to. One of the false things people they look at immigration as it causes homelessness, and it doesn't. There's zero connection. I saw Walter in the room. Is Walter in the room still? So Walter is another formerly homeless friend. I'm coming into Los Angeles in 2 weeks. One, it's my birthday. I'm turning 60. I haven't had time to start a fundraiser. I don't know if I'm going to do a live stream. I would like, if we could do restaurants, I would grab all my homeless friends and formerly homeless friends. Walter's still in with us. I would grab everybody and we would go to eat someplace. Maybe we'll do a picnic. I don't know. But I'm coming in to celebrate my birthday, the big 60. I'm 60. I never thought I would make it to 25. And look for an apartment. I think I found an apartment that I think I like. I mean, I don't like any of the rent, but I don't know. I'm not going to rent an apartment that I haven't seen. I've done that before, and it was a mistake. But the I think I found an apartment. If it stays vacant, or if enough of them stays vacant, I will probably rent it. Hey, Will, we've been looking for places. The problem with Venice, I mean, there's a lot of wonderful people like Walter and Kenneth and Chris. I don't know if Chris is online. But most of the people don't have transportation. So a bus from the center of the city or from Pasadena is like a 3-hour each way. And that's too much. So we try to stay center around Union Station. Hey, E1. And then somebody else said there, his word. I'm going to hold you on that. Hey, Loretta, woo, 63. And his word said 60 is young. Well, Brent, happy. A lot of people are 63. Hey, Sawar, what's rent like in LA? So when I left 6 years ago, I rented a 1-bedroom in South Pasadena. It was okay. It wasn't the greatest neighborhood, but that's all I could afford. And it was $1,200. That same 1-bedroom is now going for $2,000. Hey, Eric, thanks for letting me know. If I forget, you're just going to have to remind me. Hey, space communist. I had to rethink that or reread that a couple of times. So I'm gonna, once I get in LA, and this is another continuation of Claire's. When I get into LA, I'm going to hopefully we'll be able to raise enough money, maybe rent someplace that we can have, storage. And so we're not a direct services organization, but we do provide a bunch of that, especially in LA. And I would like to have a place where I could get people more involved. So right now, just, wait a little bit. I'm hoping to be in LA, full time April, May. PB Jelly. Yes, that is very true. A lot of people, and thank you for your candor. Walter, some are going for 2,400. I look every day and it is crazy. And they're doing all these deals now where, 1 month free, 2 months free. But what they do is when when you go and renew the lease in a year, they make up for it. I've been tricked 1 or 2 times. So I can't say that I haven't been ripped off. But I can say, because I've been around a little bit, that it's really hard to fool me. I get fooled, but it's really hard to fool me. Razzle, I do not know what a resource-based economy is, but I think you're probably, just by the name, more of a co-op type thing. Oh, wow. Trugger Sega Tube. Cool. Antonio, Slab City, from what I hear, is pretty rough. Loretta, I do. We do have a P.O. box. The address is at the bottom of the website. So, Simon, I am usually in the UK. We write 2 posts about 10% of our audience is UK, 10% is Canada, and 80% is US. I am usually in the UK once or twice a year. I've been brought over to stay a month once before. It's all dependent. I can't afford to travel over to the UK, so it's dependent on somebody else covering the cost of travel. And with the pound being greater than the dollar, I definitely can't afford it. But the reason I haven't been in the last year was COVID. Soon as this COVID madness clears up and I can fly across the pond, hopefully somebody will bring me over. Yeah, Dano, it was, I remember, like, going to a Subway, which is a common fast food here and over there. And, I totally forgot about, the dollar pound difference. And I'm like, oh, that's only, it's the same price. And then when I look at, the dollar difference, it's a lot more. Thank you, Simon. I hope to be out there soon. So Dark Magician, if you live downtown LA, do you recommend it? So what I've been looking at, I would love to live in Venice. It's just so far of a drive. I lived in Pasadena my last, and it was so far of a drive to the west side. I don't want to make that mistake again. I have wonderful friends like Walter in Venice, but I don't know if I should live there. So I'm looking at K-Town, I'm looking at Hollywood, and I'm looking at downtown. Yeah, Dano, Cardiff didn't really, that was my last speaking gig. Last time I was brought over was Cardiff. I don't know if you saw that. I did a vlog about my journeys both in London and then Cardiff. Hi, Minister Raquel. Glad you're helping people. Yeah, 1,300 for a studio sounds like a deal downtown. Suwar, I would love to. I would love to share a meal with you. Yucca Valley is probably a huge drive. Hey, homeless advocate, thank you for your kind words. Hey, Simon, thank you. I can't do anything for a couple of months, and also because of COVID, um, there's no crossing the pond. I wouldn't be able to do anything until fall. So, Sandra, I'm not. I think the senior housing starts at 65, and in 5 years, I'll look forward. I'll look for it. R. Morris, I haven't been in the DC area. I would like to. I wish I didn't have to clean up this house. I got a bunch done this week. I'm really pleased. Um, Thank you, Eric. And we'll close with this. There's been. I won't even bring any of it up. But there's some really horrible, horrible content on YouTube on homelessness, and it's getting millions of views and influencing people. And it's discouraging to me because I don't, we're authentic, we're real, it's real stories. Most of them are edited. Uh, Hey, Herma Black, this is a house in upstate New York. It's not worth a lot of money. It's not. I wish. Oh my gosh, that would be great. So, there's content on YouTube. I saw two videos today. One was really disturbing. I'm not even going to say the title or who. It was just, it broke my heart, and it's reaching millions of people. And then there's this whole genre of people that have just go and they videotape tents and they videotape the negative, and it gives them a lot of traffic, and they don't show people. So with invisible people, we like, if you look at the last mini documentary we did with Dr. King, we show the addiction and mental illness, but we also show solutions. These people are just showing the negative, the negative. They never show people. They show people just wasted. And it's just horrible, 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 horrible. And they're doing it for views. And it's growing, and it's bothering me. So no, Bliss, I can't, because one, this is not an economy that, and then it's just a liability. I rent out the mom's house for what? I'm going to make what? $100 a month from it, if that. And then if the roof caves in or if something needs painted and, there, it's just, no. I've thought about it. I've thought about it a bunch of times. Thought about letting a whole mess of traveling youth hippies in here and let's having one big party. So, Linda, I don't really remember how I decided on the name Invisible People. I do remember, and I wish I remembered all the details. I do remember it was a plan B. The original name that I wanted was taken, by somebody had the webpage already. So then I settled on Invisible People. And the original name was invisiblepeople.tv, but then my board made me remove the .tv. Lisa, that's cool. My problem is so many people do it. What's happening is, and they're growing. They do these drive-bys of homeless camps or camera buys or whatever. They just go film all the negative and they go, oh, look at how horrible homelessness is. Horrible. The world's coming to an end. Los Angeles is shit. San Francisco is shit. Oh my gosh, homelessness is horrible. And that's it. They don't offer solutions. They don't show that there's people working to end homelessness. They just show the negative side because there's something about humans. We stop for that car wreck. We slow down on the freeway to see that car on fire. And there's something about us that we want to see that negative. So anyways. Wow, cool. You got subsidized housing. Well, folks, it is 8:57. Next week, I will be back from Ithaca. I think you guys have seen Ithaca, the videos I've done. I wanted to go earlier, but I didn't know, because I'm still having breathing problems, if I should go trancing out in the woods during the snow. Here is my article on my first night homeless. Please enjoy. Love to hear what you think next week. Guys, let's thank Addie and Derek once again for being the greatest moderators on the internet. And y'all, I really enjoy spending time with you every Sunday night. So you guys have a safe week, and I will talk to you next Sunday.